Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Define Disaster. This is Battlefield 4, and in today's weapon review, we'll be taking a closer look at the Recon exclusive SR338 DMR, with the aim, of course, of finding out whether or not this gun can compete with some of the best DMRs that I previously discussed in my weapon showdown for the best DMRs in the game. Now, before we get started with the stats of the SR338, quick shout out to Asaya, Gomez, and Matex for suggesting this video. I hope I'm able to answer all your questions regarding both the capability of the SR338 as well as how it compares to some of the best DMRs in the game. But with that being said, let's get straight into it. This gun has a maximum damage of 50 and a minimum damage of 38, and thus has a very special, unique damage model, allowing it to two-shot kill enemies not running the defensive upgrade in the chest up to 15 meters and out, after which it requires a standard 3-shot kill. What this also means though is that you're able to one-shot kill enemies in the head up to something around 20-30 meters, whereas of course normal DMRs can't do this at any distance at all. The fire rate of this weapon is relatively low for DMR standards at 200 rounds per minute, but you should consider, of course, that you do have a higher damage model benefiting you, at least in very extreme close quarter situations. Not necessarily that you would want to be running a DMR in those combat distances. Moving on then, however, to the muzzle velocity, I thought I'd mention this real quick here. At 600 meters per second, it's decent. Not great, not bad, but certainly not going to hurt the performance of this weapon. It's good enough for most any situations. The magazine is what lets down this weapon the most, at least in my opinion, with 10+1, that is 11 bullets in total available to you. It's very small, and you're going to be finding yourself reloading it regularly and not able to take multiple targets at a time into your crosshairs necessarily if you miss a few of your shots. The reload, on the other hand, is relatively quick at 2.3 seconds for the short reload and 2.6 for the long reload. However, those 2.3 are going to feel like an eternity if you're hitting it every few seconds. Moving on to the recoil, this is where this gun can certainly get back some of its sympathy points. It's got a relatively high vertical recoil at 1.1 degrees per shot. However, its recoil both to the left and right, that is its horizontal recoil, is practically non-existent at 0.05 degrees to the left and 0.1 degrees to the right. The spread, or the ADS I should rather say, of the SR338 is very unique. It's got an actual ADS value of 0. That's identical to sniper rifles, and it means if you're standing still and taking into account bullet drop, you will hit whatever you aim at. Of course, assuming that you actually know how to aim. Now, this means this gun is extremely accurate at any range. However, at least in my opinion, I don't find myself struggling with the accuracy of your average DMR, usually around about 0.125 ADS value while standing aiming down sight too much, and therefore don't see this as much of an advantage as it may sound on paper. Its hipfire standing while moving and not aiming down sight is abysmal, as with all DMRs at 4, and thus this weapon is a mixed bag of stats, some pointing towards an exclusive close quarter appliance, others to a very long range setup, and in total kind of contradicting itself, if I may say so myself. Given that this is, of course, a DMR, it may not be in a DMR weapon class, but it is effectively a DMR, the attachments are very much based on personal preference and play style, and therefore I can only really give you some recommendations and not definite choices. When it comes to the optic, it's either going to be a red dot sight or a small magnification sight that is up to a 3.4 or 4 times magnified optic. It really depends if you're going on more aggressive, flexible, or if you're going to try to keep your distance to your enemies at 50, say to maybe even 100 to 150 meters, then you may want to definitely use a slightly more magnified optic. Accessories, frankly, there's nothing you can really use that is going to make your gun inherently better. Therefore, choose whatever suits your playstyle better. Now, I would not recommend a green laser sight or any laser sight. For a matter of fact, a variable zoom you're not going to be able to use because of the optic you're choosing. A rangefinder won't work on some of the optics you're choosing. So frankly, there's not really much you can take here that is really beneficial. So go with whatever makes you feel most comfortable, or as I usually do, with no accessory at all. Barrel attachments, you treat this as a DMR or a sniper rifle, and it doesn't need any accuracy improvements. Therefore, there should not really be a barrel attachment on this, unless of course you're going aggressive with it, and then you may want to slap on a suppressor. Otherwise though, naked barrel here. Auxiliary, well, this is a sniper rifle DMR hybrid, and therefore you can't really put anything useful on here. There's no straight pull, and a bipod is useless, so once more again, no attachment here. So really, the way I'm running this gun is the optic of my choice, and then no attachments whatsoever, and a cool custom camo if you have one available. As you can see, there's not too much choice with this weapon when comparing to most of the DMRs or sniper rifles, and this is because of course the SR is kind of a hybrid of both, not necessarily though representing the best of both worlds. And this is where we get into the appliances of this gun. When is it actually useful to use? And to start off, Is this gun any good? It's alright. It's a weakish DMRs. DMRs are not inherently bad in Battlefield 4, and thus you can always use them effectively. It's really satisfying getting a one-shot headshot kill with one of these at something like 30 meters, which you can still pull off. However, the higher damage model almost never suits you and is only really beneficial at ranges where, frankly, you shouldn't be using a DMR, and an SKS would be a better choice, and you fall short when you encounter an enemy using the defensive upgrade, which is, these days, most of your enemies in Battlefield 4. So where do I see this gun performing best? Actually, where most DMRs do perform best, at medium range. However, that doesn't mean you should be picking up the SR338 over something like a Scar HSV or an M39 EMR, my recommended all-rounder DMR from my weapon showdown. And there's two reasons for this. A, the fire rate is kind of bad. The magazine capacity means that you're going to be reloading it constantly, and is only really enough for 1, maybe 2 kills in most cases, unless you, of course, hitting collaterals or getting every single shot into the body of your enemy. And last but not least, you're limited to the Recon class. Now, yes, you may want to run your DMR with the Recon class, but I like to have choice, and I usually run my DMRs with a medic because, of course, healing is the best thing in Battlefield 4, and you can't do this with the SR338 as it is a Recon exclusive. And this is where the SR338 really falls short to most of the DMRs. You cannot successfully heal yourself because it is a Recon weapon. And you cannot go to such long ranges where you are actually as effective as using a bolt action rifle. So you may as well just use a bolt action rifle or go into get medic and take something like the MK Mod 0. Now, with all that being said, I hope I was able to clear some things up about this gun. I hope you don't hate me for really not loving this weapon too much. I didn't play it too much beforehand of this review, and it's not a bad weapon, but it certainly does have its faults, and there's certainly better out there. Nevertheless, let me know down below in the comments what you thought both of this video and of the gun, the SR338. What are your experiences with this weapon? Is this your favorite DMR in the game? Your favorite Recon exclusive weapon? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as your future video suggestions. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 4 video.